Hey guys, it's me, Johnny. Now I'm gonna remake a video that I already made that I deleted because I deleted all my other videos because I feel like they were crap and I feel like I could do better. I'm still new at this whole YouTube thing. I didn't write a script. I struggle to write a script. So I'm just gonna wing it. And basically this video is me talking about how I left the left, how I'm an anti-SJW, my thoughts on the far left, and why I don't think I can ever join the left. My experiences of being a gay anti-SJW, my experiences with the punk community, because I'm also a punk. And, yeah, more. Let's just wing it. So, I was a leftist. I was a far leftist. I would act as if a person who had these beliefs, who I thought was hate speech, couldn't express those opinions, which boggles my mind how I could even support that, because that belief seems so fascist, that a person must only express opinions that I like because all the other opinions that I didn't like were considered hate speech, and I'm doing air quotes. And I'm so glad I changed, but I was a far leftist. I was very ill-formed and dumb, and I was very naive. I didn't know much about the world. You see, when I realized that I was gay, it was the first time I even knew it was a thing, because all my life I have never heard of homosexuality or gay, so when I was afraid to come out, it wasn't because I was taught it was bad, it's because I've never heard of it before in my entire life. And when I came out, I still didn't know about the world, and when you're a gay guy who doesn't know much about the world, when you're naive, your first thought is to join the LGBT community. And when you join the LGBT community and you don't know much about the world and you are very naive, you are almost doomed to become an SJW. Because a majority of the LGBT community, in my opinion, or where I'm standing from my site, is very far leftist, and their accepting and equality is extremely fake and plastic. It's like a facade. And I became an SJW that way. But I don't know, I was red pilled. I think I was watching Honest Trailers, and somehow I found No Bullshit's channel. Now, I don't watch him anymore because it's clear he's a fucking idiot, and he's just as much as an SJW as the SJWs he makes fun of. But through him, I found Sugar Tits, I found Andy Worski, I found Bearing, I found Just a Robot, who's not really anti-SJW anymore, but he did some stuff back then. I found a bunch of anti-SJW channels. Even Chew on Head, even though he's kind of seeming like an SJW now. And I guess what they said made sense. What they said made perfectly logical sense. I was an SJW, but it seems that I did not have an SJW closed mind. I was willing to learn. I guess, No Bullshit had some opinions that I agreed with when the first videos, even though I was an SJW. And I guess somehow it kind of just gradually pulled me in. Now, I didn't blindly believe what they said. I still thought about things. But what they said made sense, and the logic that was constantly fed to me by my SJW friends, especially my group of friends online, who I'll probably talk about, seemed to fall apart. Their logic, their arguments seemed to fall apart and not seem so accepting. My online group of friends, which were actually a lot older than me, one of them was 90, I looked up to them. I would even dare say I loved them as family, because during this time, I was not in a good patch with my mom. We would get into very bad fights. I would regularly run from the house. My stepdad was kind of abusive, physically. He headbutted me sometimes. It wasn't like a slam, but it was like he once slapped the sunglasses off my sister's face, my twin sister. He was mentally and verbally and all of this, but he's not so bad now, but he still was. And my mom, she didn't do much help. We're good now, me and my mom now, but I had no one. even my friends in high school, like, they weren't really friends because I felt like I was behind a glass wall. Maybe it was because of my autism, but I felt like there was something I couldn't fully connect. So I was very alone. I was very depressed. And these friends were there for me. Rick was part of a gay couple who owned a homeless shelter for gay teens. Mike was a 90-year-old who, I would talk to when I felt suicidal. And I even attempted suicide, and he was the one who talked to me into telling my mom that I overdosed on 4 big asthma pills and a small, handful of steroid pills in an attempt to kill myself. And glad it didn't work. But I was in a very rough patch, and these people, I felt like they were my family. Well, I soon learned that, they were only as friendly and loving as long as I had their exact same opinions. Because as soon as I defended this hate preacher, because, I told them, I don't like what he says. I don't agree. I think he's an asshole, but I'll still stand for his freedom of speech. It was like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. It was. They turned from the most friendliest people to the most nastiest people. They tried to gaslight me into thinking that I was some bad guy. Mike, who I literally called when I felt suicidal and all of this, told me that I was going to burn in hell with the hate preacher and I deserved it. He acted like a little brat. Like, he stopped talking to me. He acted like a freaking bratty little kid. Rick, he was crying and stuff and gaslighted me into thinking I was the bad guy and thinking I was some bigot and stuff. Even though this one other guy I was getting in a fight with in the group was treating me like crap and I was trying to be respectful. Like, I think the only name I've called people in the group was bigot because they were acting like bigot. I mean, I thought, they would be proud of me when defending free speech because they taught me to be accepting and open-minded, but this was not it. So it actually came as a surprise, like a hit, like I was a deer in headlights being hit by a truck, on how nasty they became. Which I think this action alone really pushed me from the left, because it really showed that the LGBT community is not as accepting and loving and friendly as they say they are. Now I'm talking about the far left LGBT community. I have a habit of saying the LGBT community, but I know, the left does not own. There are plenty, I'm sure, of gay and lesbian and bi and trans people who are not this crazy, and they are just silent. They're like the silent majority because they don't want to deal with this shit, and I don't blame them. But, I continue to watch Sugar Tits, Bearing, Andy Worski, who I kind of had a crush on. But then, I kind of noticed that there was even some a-holes in the anti-SJW community. Like, because I joined an anti-SJW community. I also joined a group called Geeks and Gamers, which is like a Gamergate group for anti-SJW gamers to talk about how the SJWs are trying to take over the geek culture, and they are. But I noticed, they're just as, a lot of them act like SJWs themselves. And even when, I left the left, I didn't join the right, because I was afraid that if I just joined the right, just like that, I would become a right-leaning version of what I was on the left. So I decided to become centrist, or I would call myself moderate. It kind of switches. I now call myself moderate. And that's kind of where I am now. Now, I've learned a lot. I kind of have I kind of call out both people on sides now. When I did leave the left, I only called out the left. I thought the right was accepting and such, and it was only a minority that was hateful. But there are, there's hateful and shitty people on both sides. Which is funny, because, when I was a leftist, I thought the Conservative Party was this evil, modern KKK, Nazi regime, or whatever. So I'm glad that I matured where I actually see. Now, I still have a lot to learn. I'm still kind of naive. I don't read articles because I'm like, how do you know if they're right? How do you know? Like, I don't know where to get my information. I get it from YouTubers because, you know, yeah, they're saying their opinion but their opinion is more valuable than some big media corporation. Like, I don't know where to get my information other than YouTubers because I don't know, like, how do you know if it's truly truthful information? How do you know it's not biased? How do you know it's not lies? Because, the easy answer would be like, oh, they probably credit their information. But, like, in today's modern age, it's like, even credible, like, how do you know if it's credible? I don't know. I'm not some genius. I still have a lot to learn. I'm an asshole. I'm still growing. I'm still depressed. I'm kind of a mess, but I still, try to be a good person. I still try to change the world for the better. And, there's plenty of stuff that I disagree with the anti-SJW community, because there's tons of anti-SJWs who act just like SJWs, which I don't get the point. What is the point of standing against SJWs if you're going to act just like them? No Bullshit is a perfect example. Caitlyn Bennett is a perfect example. Baked Alaska is a perfect example of a person on the right who acts just like the far left. Caitlyn Bennett literally tries to gaslight and makes propaganda. Like, if any of you've seen the movie The Good Son, there's a scene where the bad guy, Culkin, I don't know what his character's name, but he's the evil kid, who's this psycho, is basically trying to poke, mess with the main character, trying to get him to snap. And when he does snap, the father comes in, and the bad kid acts all innocent. That is what she does. She pokes people and treats people like crap who may look like SJWs or may be like SJWs. And when they get angry, she makes it to where it's just an SJW throwing a fit because their logic is challenged, when that's not the case. She is literally a bully. And I know that's a cringe term, bully, but she is. She is a propaganda. Her husband, to my knowledge, is not much better. I don't watch her stuff because I know, she's just as bad as the SJWs. No Bullshit is also just as bad as the SJWs. He is like a big, giant man baby who is just such a joke. Like, there's tons of videos on him. He is such a joke. Shoe on Head. She seems to be like a freaking socialist, communist cunt. Especially with her tweet now, she's like talking about how people calling Gabriella a grifter. She was an LGBT YouTuber, but they're calling her a grifter. Like, these people seem to like, she's a far leftist now. Far leftists seem to think that any person who leaves the left and becomes a conservative is a grifter. I'm using air quotes. And, Gabriella was talking about how the left acts like brown shirts, and, Sean Head was making fun of her, but she's right. Gabriella is right. The left regularly acts like brown shirts. They act like Nazis. Are they Nazis? No, but they sure act like brown shirts, literally silencing anyone who opposes them, attacking anyone who opposes them. I mean, look at BOM. They act like they are terrorists. Antifa. They are everything they say they are against. Literally everything. They silence and attack anyone who opposes them. They are brown shirts. Modern brown shirts. And people are too stupid to freaking see it. Because they want to believe that the conservatives are the bad guys. They're so much that they're willing to believe that there are a group of conservatives out there pretending to be Antifa or pretending to be BOM who is doing all of the rights instead of the actual BOM and Antifa. It's quite hilarious. But I don't know, because, like, yeah, the anti-SJW community has some funny people. It also annoys me how a big chunk of the anti-SJW community acts like as if anything gay or anything LGBT or anything that is not strictly conservative or old conservative is an SJW thing. Like, I'm a gay guy, but I think I want to make comics, and those comics are going to have gay main characters. Is it going to be disregarded as an SJW comic just because the main character is gay? I mean, I feel like as long as the character is not just gay, and his sexuality is only his sexuality, it should work. But it's like people don't seem to care. They seem to think that even the existence of a gay couple, or the existence of a gay movie, or the existence of a gay anything is shoving it down their throat. It's like, no one is forcing you to see the movie. No one is forcing you to buy the comic. And, I know they used argument that, the comic community is just trying to, appease the SJWs and stuff, which may be true, but should we really assume that all LGBT comics is just that? I don't know, it's annoying. I don't know, it's annoying, and it's really frustrating as a gay anti-SJW, because, just because something is gay doesn't make it an SJW. Let's look at Mr. No Bullshit again. He regularly freaking calls anything that is not strictly old-fashioned conservative, far leftist SJW. Like, a gay character or anything. And it's, just because it's LGBT doesn't make it an SJW thing. You see, I feel like I am moderate. I feel like I have opinions on the conservative side and the leftist side. I think for myself, I try to, Now, I'm not perfect with it. I'm sure that, I'm sure I'm wrong on tons of things, but who isn't? I'm only 22, still growing. I feel like my brain is the brain of a teenager, probably because of my autism in high school. I think my brain was the brain of a child, or a preteen at least. And now my brain is of a teenager. I don't know. I'm still learning, I'm still understanding things, So, I don't know. And let's talk about the punk community, I feel like the punk community has really lost their way. In my opinion, this is what a punk, in my opinion, is. Opinion. Sorry if I have pronunciation problems. I feel like a punk is a person who is unbiased, stands up for what's right, and does not give a fuck what anyone thinks. He will dress how he wants to dress. He will do whatever the fuck he wants. He will stand against the establishment and against this bullshit order that's been put in place, these bullshit rules that society must follow. And I feel like a lot of leftists think, I think a lot of punks are actually far leftists who think they're standing against the establishment, but what they don't realize is that the far left and Hollywood is the establishment. And they act like brown shirts. They think they support Antifa, who does nothing but bully and harass anyone and uses the term Nazi towards anyone who opposes them. A lot of punks are posers. A lot of punks are really just far leftist people who have never been oppressed in a day of their lives, who is spoiled rotten by their parents, who go to Harvard and freaking do useless freaking gender studies. What is gender studies supposed to do? Like, how do you benefit from it in the real world? It's not tied to a fucking job. You don't make money off of it. Like, what is the point of gender studies? I don't know. But a lot of punks think they're rebelling, but what are they rebelling against when they are literally blindly following a group of mainstream media that tells them that they must think this way and not any other way, and that they must shun anyone who thinks differently? Since when did punk become a hive mind? Since when did it become punk to follow a hive mind and shun anyone who thinks outside of that hive mind? This doesn't seem punk to me. So, here's the deal. For a long time, I just called myself punk because I just grew up punk. My parents were punk. They dressed me in punk fashion and stuff. I was punk. I was like born punk. But now, I feel like I am punk because I try to strut my own strut. I try to have my own opinion. I stand up for what's right, and I will stand against people on both sides. I will do my own thing. And yes, I still do care what people think about me. That's an insecurity that I have. That's something that I need to work on. But I feel like I am punk because I do my own thing, and I don't care what other people think for the most part. I still try to have my own opinion. I dress how the fuck I want. Even if it's a bit crazy. Now, I do dress punk, but that's not because I'm punk. I feel like punk just it had something to do with my appearance, I was punk before I dressed punk, if that makes sense. And I feel like I am punk. Because I stand for what I believe in. And I do not care if a big fucking crowd or if the majority calls me a Nazi because I believe this one opinion that doesn't even have to do with Nazi ideology. So, punk is a weird thing because it's different for everyone, I guess. Maybe I'm a poser for saying that these people aren't punk. I don't know. It's my opinion, and I'm going to express it. Speaking of punks, if you're a punk and you want to follow a person who is truly punk, go follow Sid Jones. He is an amazing punk. He is a true idea of what a punk is. Now, I'm sure we have tons of different opinions, but that doesn't matter because I don't live in an echo chamber. I think it's a very unhealthy way to live in an echo chamber. I think it's good to follow people with different opinions. I think it's healthy. And Sid Jones is a really awesome guy, and I feel like he's a true representative of what punk should be. I actually kind of look up to him. He is freaking awesome. You can find him on Facebook, Twitch Network, on Asylum. There's also a community called Fans of Sid Jones Network. Fans of Sid Jones. I would highly advise that you follow it. If you want to follow a true punk, if you want to see a true punk, a person who's more punk than I could ever be, follow him. He's also on Twitch, I think, Real Sid Jones, I don't know, but he's a true example of a real punk. And I feel like things have changed to where communities who were full of conservatives and liberals, both alike, even if there was some division, it still had both people on both sides as part of the community. The same thing with the gay community. The gay community used to be of people of leftists and conservatives, but now it seems like the communities are owned by the left, and that should raise a red flag. No community like this should be owned by a political party. That is just my opinion. And I will stand by it. Now I'm probably going to get hate for this video because God forbid a gay person have opinions that the left overlords do not allow them to have. And that's another thing I want to talk about. The liberals, they see gay people and people of color as property, as tokens. It's it's as if there's a meme where this black girl is standing and this white girl, and the white girl has her hand to the black girl's face saying, "Oh, you just don't know better. I'll be offended on your behalf." That's exactly how they are with gay people too as well. They're both, it's they don't care what we actually think. They only like us as long as we say what they want us to say. We are nothing but tokens and property to them. And their acceptance of us is so hollow and plastic. They don't really care about us. I feel like a lot of people on the Republican side, they don't care for gay. They see us as people. Yeah, there are tons of crazy psychopathic Christians who see us as, less, but there are tons of people on the left who see white people or other people or males as less as well. There's tons of hate on the left, just like there's tons of hate on the right. And I feel like the left, the right, at least they have people who actually see us as human and not just tokens, not just plastic. Now, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there are people conservatives who just want to use us as tokens. It's like, oh, this gay person's just saying it, But I feel like for the most part, there are more conservatives who see us as people than conservatives who see us as tokens. And there are more people on the left who see us as tokens than people who see us as actual people. Because, they act so freaking crazy and surprised when a gay person or a person of color has an opinion that doesn't align with their beliefs. In fact, they'll even shame us and toss us out like trash, calling us a grifter, or they'll call black people a Uncle Tom, which I've heard from people of color that is a more racist term than the N-word. Now, I don't know if that's correct, but black people or people of color have said that. So, I don't know. But it feels like they only see us as tokens, as things used for propaganda. They give us table scraps and they tell us to stay in line and say what we want you to say, or else we'll cast you out and we'll make you disappear. That's how the left is, their acceptance of gay people and their love of gay people is so hollow, it's like cheap plastic. It's just kind of just sad. This is why I choose to be part of neither party. I feel like when you're part of neither party, those people, they have no fucking power over you. Also, you're more likely to see both parties through unbiased eyes when you're part of their party. So I feel like it's best if I do that. But, I feel like the LGBT community needs to not be owned by the leftist or Democratic Party. I feel like the punk community should not be owned by the Democratic Party. I wish it was like the old days where, punk was the height of its time and it was full of conservatives and Democrats. It was full of people of all opinions, just like the gay community was, or so I think it was. But, I feel like things are just getting worse and worse. And now this COVID, screwed me over. Yes, I'm on unemployment, but I was going to save up money and move and take guitar lessons. I was going to try to move to California, but now that is completely fucking out the window. Like, I can still work for it, but I was going to save up for college, and now I have no money saved up. It's kind of sad. This COVID is fucked. Now, because of the unemployment money, I have been able to buy groceries and some special things, like clothing that I really wanted on the side, but still. I don't know. I just hope this COVID ends soon so I can go on with my normal life. But, yeah, I feel like the world is just getting worse and worse. Like, it's just crazy. It kind of gives me anxiety, But, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. If you like this video, subscribe. Give a like. And tell me what you think in the comments. I am fully open and engaging in conversation. I am a stubborn motherfucker, so I'll tell you that. But I'll still listen. I'll still, engage in conversation. So tell me what you think in the comments, And have a nice day.